Hello and welcome back to our nightly homesteading live stream. I'm Scott and this is Tina,
Yep.
and
So,
we're Mississippi Family Homestead.
tonight we're going to be answering some questions about heat for your chickens. So last night we did talk about feeding our chickens some grains and stuff to help them lay, and I did do that today. And maybe by the end of the week I'll be able to tell you whether or not that worked or not. But that's just a recap of what we talked about last night is what to do to help your chickens lay eggs better. But tonight we want to talk about heat for the chicken.
That's right. And it could probably depend on where you live. We are in central Mississippi, which means the cold weather here may be a lot for us, but it's it it's not the same as being in Alaska or even
Right.
being up in the northern states of the continental U.S. or wherever you are around the world.
Yep.
So, so the big question that people ask is, do chickens do they really need heat? Do they need a heater?
Okay. So chickens are naturally cold hardy. They have lots of feathers. They can keep themselves warm. And what a lot of people don't know is their body temperature is actually 106 as to ours is 98. Theirs is 106. That's just natural for a chicken. So they usually do pretty good in the wintertime, and most of the time there's not a reason to add a heater. But we're going to talk about some different instances and things that can happen during the wintertime, you know, for them to actually need some heat during the wintertime.
All right. So first of all, so how do these chickens keep warm by themselves?
Okay, so their feathers trap air. It's just like insulation for them, just like it is for a dog or a cat. You know, they have fur and they keep themselves warm with their fur. Well, chickens are the same way. Their feathers do keep them warm, and it helps keep create like a layer of warmth around their body, and it helps keep them warm. Um, they also they like to roost close together, and that actually helps them share body heat. And with a bunch of them sitting right together and roosting together, that helps them generate their own heat.
And I've noticed, on our live cam, on our Silky's live cam that we put up each day, I've noticed they go in a little earlier now because
Yeah,
it gets cool at night and they all bunch up.
yeah, they're all
Whether they
bunched up
like
in
each
there.
other or not, they kind of bunch up.
And you some chicken breeds, they don't like to roost on the roost. Like, I've noticed that our silkies don't. They don't like to get up on the roost. They just like to sit there on the bedding. So if you have a type of chicken like a silky that doesn't really like to go on the roost, then you need to make sure that bedding's really really warm for them on the bottom.
And by the way, if you have any questions during our live stream or just want to say hello, please let us know in the chat and let us know what's going on and maybe how many chickens you have.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
this is for homesteaders. We're trying to help homesteaders that are just kind of starting out. We have been homesteading for a while now, but we're not full-time homesteaders. There's a lot of people that are doing it full-time. We do have full-time jobs and we have a full-time homestead, but we're not only doing the homestead right now. So, it that will show you that you don't have to be like some of the, and we might be full-time homestead one day, but we're not there yet.
That's
But
right. You
you
don't
know,
have to do it to make it work for homesteading. It is a lot of work, but you can make it work with, some full-time jobs, as we both have full-time jobs. It does take a little more work, in the wintertime sometimes, to take care of the chickens because it gets dark earlier. And, a lot of people, we don't get home from work till 5. And by the time, we're off work or whatever, it's 5:30, and it makes it kind of hard to take care of the chickens.
and we talk about chickens a lot, but I think they're one of the easiest animals to start a homestead. And you don't really have to have a homestead out in the country a lot of times to do chickens, as long as
Yes.
your HOA will allow it.
Yeah.
You've got the option to do chickens. To have them and have them as pets. And one of the things that will help you in the keeping them warm situation is the way you design the coop, right?
Yes. So, yeah, your coop design is a big factor in that. You want to make sure that it's like free of any drafts make sure that it's also well ventilated. Um, you want your ventilation to be up at the top, and this allows the ammonia from their poop to
Hmm.
to escape the coop, and it also helps with the humidity because if you've got a closed area where it's completely closed in, you're going to get humidity in there, and that's not good for your chickens. You want to have some kind of ventilation in there. You want them to be warm, but you also want to have some ventilation in there. You don't want to have your coop area where they roost at night to be too large either, because they can't group up together and it's too big for them. You want to make sure that you have a good area where it's big enough but not too big, so they can keep all that heat in there for them.
And that's one thing we kind of thought about when we did our new coop. I wish I should have put some pictures up, but we wanted to make sure it was ventilation, but we also made it so we could kind of shut it up a little bit more in the wintertime. So it's, it kind of is more flexible.
Yes,
And
yes.
ours is a pretty large coop, but you could do that with a smaller coop too.
Yes, you could. So
And I know one of the other things is the bedding. You've got to have good dry
yes.
bedding for them.
So you want to make sure that you have, especially in the wintertime, have deep bedding in there. You may want to put more than what you would in the summertime. It I use pine shavings in mine, and also use pellet bedding that you would use in a horse stall. I put that as a bottom layer, and then I add my pine shavings on top of that. And if you have that good cushion in there, that's the insulation for them, and it also allows them to catch all their droppings, while they're roosting. You also want to have some good roosting bars in there. They don't need to be too small. They need to be able to grip those bars and to be able to sit kind of down on their feet, because that helps keep their feet warm, and keeps them from getting frostbitten.
And I know one of the risks is like if you decide to put a heater, so don't, there are some risks for that, isn't it?
Yes, yes, there is. So, some risk for that is you can have a fire. A lot of people use these heating lamps. They're kind of those silver ones, and you put that red heat lamp in there. Use them a lot for baby chickens, but I feel like those are really, really hazardous, and they can cause a fire.
As a matter of fact, our neighbors had one of those heating lamps last year in the doghouse, and
Yes, they did. It did
our
catch on fire.
I think our daughter-in-law just happened to be driving by and noticed there was smoke coming out of the doghouse, and it could have caught the whole house on fire. So
Yeah.
you've got to be extremely careful with those.
Those get pretty hot, like
Yeah.
400 degrees or something. I mean, it's especially if they're in an enclosed area. So, I wouldn't suggest that.
Probably not quite 400 degrees.
Yeah,
Is it?
yeah, that's
Oh.
what I've read.
No, okay.
Maybe we need
I
to
don't
get
know.
a gauge and test one of them and see how.
That's a pretty hot bulb.
Yeah,
I don't
see how hot it'll
Maybe
get.
it is. I've never checked it out. But,
Yeah.
but either way, if that bulb falls down on some hay or something,
Yeah,
you're
it can-
pretty well troubled, because the bulb itself doesn't have any safety features.
That's right. So another thing is, if you're adding heat in there all the time, your chickens get dependent on that heat, and they'll expect that heat all the time, and that's not good for them. You want them to be natural and not dependent on heat like that. It's just a good idea not to add heat unless it's just an extreme cold, cold time.
Now, when they're in their natural habitat, wherever that is when they're running free, they don't have heat there.
No,
they
no,
naturally,
they don't. No.
and I do think it probably depends on, now, if you were in extreme cold,
Mhm.
you might want to think about heat, but I know down here in the South and a lot of North America, you probably don't need any special heat.
Right, right. Especially as long as you've got that good coop area. I mean, you're not going to just leave them out, with no protection at all, with nothing surrounding them, like in the open, they will, get really cold then. They do need to be in that warm area.
And again, if you're just joining us, we invite you to ask any questions or make a statement. If we're saying something that worked out different for you, let us know in the chat below. And if you like the channel, just please hit the subscribe button. All right, now, humidity, can it if it gets real cold, like below freezing, can it cause frostbite?
Yes, it can. So that humidity, that's why it's a good idea to have that good ventilation in there. That when the heat rises, the humidity inside the coop increases, and it makes condensation, just like it would. It'll get on the chickens' combs, and it will cause frostbite on their combs.
And we did have that with our rooster that was running free. We
Yes,
did have that problem with him.
Yeah. Actually, my rooster now, he's had a little frostbite. He has a little black spot on his comb where he's had frostbite.
Which
before.
one is that?
Nick. That's my favorite rooster. He actually.
He's got a pretty neat personality.
He does. He does have a neat personality.
He's unlike he's a pet rooster.
He's easygoing.
And speaking of the ones in that flock, there's another one when we go in the coop to film, the little brown one.
Yeah,
I think
the brown one.
she's a tech nerd because she's always right there looking at the camera and checking that out.
She's really curious.
She is curious, real sweet.
Yeah,
you know, the rest of them are kind of scared, but she's not real scared. That's that's
she wants to know
Nick's flock.
Yeah, she wants to know what's going on. She loves that.
She does. So, if you did have to add heat, when would you add heat?
All right. So, if you have very young chickens, they do need a heater. They hadn't grown their feathers in yet. They don't grow their feathers in until they're about at least 6 weeks old. So they have that good insulation. So they do need a heater. But if it's warmer during the day, you do need to turn that heater off for the baby chickens, just so they don't get dependent on it. And then as they get older, you want a way to turn that heat down, so they don't get dependent on that heater. It's not a good idea for them to get dependent on it. Like we said, even for for what we said for the grown birds, they don't need to get dependent on it. So if you have young chickens up to 6 weeks, they do need a heater. And then at 6 weeks, you need to start turning that heat down at night, so they're not dependent on them and, on that heat. And also, if you have like a sick bird or an injured bird, they're going to need some heat because they're sick and they need a little heat. So it's a good idea to use. I use a chick brooder. It's actually a heater made for the baby chickens, and you can use it for your grown chickens too. You just kind of turn it to the side and let that heat radiate from it, and they can get close enough to it to get warm. They actually make one of those that you can hang from the top of your coop, and it radiates heat down on those chickens, and it's somewhat better than a bulb.
Yeah, we just think it's a little safer. Having been through a fire before, we just are real conscious about that. So there are options other than the red bulbs. So if you do use one of those bulbs, make sure you can do it safely.
Right. So, and then also, if you have some chicken breeds are not cold hardy. If they're a smaller breed, one of these special breeds that they have, sometimes they're not cold hardy and they don't do good, in the cold. Most breeds do. Most breeds that we have, that people raise, they do good. And
so I guess that's something you really need to check out before, like if you live far up north.
Right. You want
to make sure that the chickens are going to be the right breed in the winter, right?
That's right. And if you have an extreme cold snap, here in Mississippi, if it gets to 0, we're going to put a little heat in there, or we're going to put some extra padding in the coop to get them a little warm at night. And we have had that. What we've done in the past is we've gotten a tarp and kind of wrapped the coop up, at night for them. So they can get warm in there. And then we've also added one of those chick brooders to the coop, and that helped them stay
So
warm.
the alternatives to heater, if you don't really want to put it, it's not quite cold enough for a
Yeah.
heater. What do we do there?
Well, so you can add a tarp to your coop.
Hmm.
Make sure everything is sealed up real well. We actually made a door for the silkies so we can close it up at night, so that keeps the draft out of there. But remember, you still need some of that ventilation at the top, so don't cover
Yeah,
it up
they still have
completely.
ventilation.
Yeah, don't cover it up completely, but you can put some extra bedding on the bottom too, and that'll add some insulation. A lot of people will put some kind of insulation at the top of the coop, and that'll help keep some warmth in there if you don't want to add a heater.
And I know one of the things that we've had problems with when it gets below freezing is the water freezes, and that's kind of a pain, but you got to watch out for it.
Yeah, yeah. So that's another thing that we talk about is what they need, their nutrition during the winter. In the wintertime, I do like to add a little bit more nutrition, like some calcium and some protein. I make sure I give them extra mealworms, and also I add some grains in the wintertime to their, to give to them a few times, like in the mornings and at night before they go to bed. That just helps them get fattened up, really, so they have more fat. They're not skinny. You don't want them to be skinny and cold. So I do add that, and you have to be really careful about their water in the wintertime. Their water can freeze, and then they can't get to their water and they can't drink it. It's just as important in the wintertime that they have good hydration as it is in the summertime, because you think about them being hot in the summer and needing all that water, but they need it in the wintertime too. They need fresh, clean water that's not going to freeze. And up, in the northern states, you can buy heaters for water for the chickens. So that's what a lot of people do up north is they add a heater to their chicken water so it keeps it from freezing.
Okay. But yeah, you want to make sure you keep it from freezing, because if not, obviously they can't drink and they really need to stay hydrated. So, we talked about their combs can freeze, but what about their feet? Do they ever have problems with their feet freezing?
If they're not, like I talked about the silkies, they don't like to roost. So if they don't have that good bedding on their feet, even though they're sitting down on their feet, the bottoms of their feet can still, get cold. So you need to have that good bedding, and also make sure your perches are kind of wide, and that'll help them be able to sit down on their feet real good and cover them up with their feathers at night. But yeah, they can get frostbite especially on their combs. So what you can do if you're in a very northern state, some people put some Vaseline on their combs. Yeah. And that layer of protection kind of keeps their combs from freezing.
Okay.
Yeah. So
Never heard of that.
Well, Vaseline's good for the skin. So good for the chickens.
Yeah.
So you put it on their comb, and it keeps it from freezing. That humidity level rises.
Okay. So, if you're looking for, maybe you're in a cold area, what do you have an idea of what kind of breeds may do better in cold areas?
You have some good breeds. Now, the Americanas, their combs don't stick up high like other breeds do, and the Easter eggers, a lot of them they won't have a comb that sticks up real high. It's kind of flat. So those are good hardy breeds. There's the Orpingtons and Plymouth Rock and several other ones that are good hardy breeds, for the cold. But I would think about it, getting an Americana if it was me and I lived up way north, because I know their combs are flat and they're not sticking up, so they can't get frostbitten. So
Now, is there anywhere that's just too cold for chickens?
Well,
like
I don't
northern
know.
Alaska?
Well, I don't know. I've never thought about that. What do they do in Alaska? I guess.
I mean, surely they have chickens.
Yeah,
there.
surely they do.
If you're in Alaska, let us know.
Yeah. We'd like to know what you do with your chickens if you're up in Alaska.
Yeah, but surely they do. We'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
So last night we talked about something, and I think you were the egg laying We were having problems with our chickens. We've got around 30 chickens that are supposed to lay eggs. So, um, you were going to work on that today, weren't you?
Yeah, so I did work on that, and I gave them. I put some oats and cornmeal, and I put some grains in there, and I put them some mealworms, and I kind of added some warm water in there, mixed that together, and fed it to them this morning. And I'll do that again in the morning and for at least a week or so to try to help them start laying some eggs. So I hope that that'll help, with them laying eggs.
And if you didn't join us last night, we were talking about the problem of laying eggs. And if you have any suggestions, please let us know in the chat if you've had any problems with your chicken flock not laying eggs. I know they all get to it, but we talked in detail last night. And if you're looking at the chat, looking on the replay, let us know the coldest temperature that your chickens have ever seen.
Yeah,
We'd be interested in
yeah.
knowing that, and what area you live in. Would like to know what you do, and have you had any scares with heaters or anything like that?
Yeah. So I think the coldest that it's gotten here is around 0. I don't think we've ever been maybe below 0 when I had the chickens. But when it did get to 0, I did put a tarp around the chicken pen. We've had a fire in a shop, but we've never had a fire with our chickens. So
Yeah, we're pretty picky about what we do in there. Obviously we try to be as safe as we can. So, and also in the chat, let us know what breeds you have if you're in the colder climate areas. And, just we'd like to hear from you and like to hear from the chat. We're going to try to do this live stream weeknights. We're going to try every weeknight. We're going to talk about things more than chickens, like
yeah.
homesteading. If you're getting started homesteading, we want to help you out. Want to help people, get started. Like we moved up here when
been 6 or 7 years.
yeah,
now.
we kind of lived in, I guess, what you would call a suburban home, and we got rid of that and downsized and moved to old family land, and we didn't look back, and we're enjoying it. We have a garden. We didn't have the garden this year, but we're having it coming up. We just had too much going on, so but we really missed it because we love the garden. We're going to be canning, and we might even do some of that live.
Yeah. So, I think that'll be fun for us to do.
Watch me sweat out in the summer heat here in Mississippi, maybe. But we're going to do things like that. So we're going to try to do this every weeknight. If you've got something you want to discuss, let us know. Let us know in the chat. And again, tonight's topic is keeping those chickens warm in the winter. And I know that's kind of important right now.
Yeah, it is. It's kind of cool here right now, actually. It's been in the 40s or, during the day, and that's not real normal. Usually in the wintertime, it at least gets up to 60 or so. And at night, it's been really, really cool at night, down in the 30s.
Yeah, I kind of like it personally. I like a break from the heat.
Yeah.
And it's, a lot of people down here just don't like cold weather at all. But, I think I like all kinds, except I don't like I don't really like the extreme heat.
Yeah.
Or I don't like any
It's
heat.
bad when it's 100 in the summertime.
Above 80, I don't really care for it, but we're in Mississippi, so we have to deal with that.
That's right.
So, that hopefully that's helped you in, working with your chickens if you're getting chickens or starting out and worried about them getting cold. But always do your research. And also, one thing you can do is, if you've got neighbors or friends in your area, look and see what they're doing to keep their chickens warm.
Yeah.
Especially, try to find somebody that's had chickens for a long time and see what they're saying about it.
Yeah.
because you can learn a lot from those kind of people,
Yeah, you can.
and talk to the old people too.
Yeah, that's what we like to do.
We have all these homesteading channels and stuff, and they kind of learned just it's handed down from them. It was just a natural for all of them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but hopefully that's helped. If you have any questions, let us know in the chat while we're live, or we'll try to respond to you on the playback. So, we're going to try to be here every weeknight at 7:30 Central.
Yeah.
So if there's any topics you want to discuss, just let us know.
So tomorrow night we're going to be talking about hatching your chickens, and we'll do some specifics on hatching them during the fall and the winter time. Like what your needs would be if you're hatching them in the late fall or the winter.
And we did hatch chickens was that the first time we've done them in the late fall?
Yes, that's the first time we've done them in the late fall. So they're doing pretty good. They're actually out there with their little heater right now, and they're going on 5 weeks.
Yeah.
So pretty soon I'm going to start knocking that heater back during the day, so they don't become dependent on it, because they're getting pretty filled out with their little feathers. So,
and but right now I think tonight they probably really need that heater. And
yeah, they do.
We love hatching chickens. It's really, really fun. We've it's kind of, you get nervous a little bit.
Yeah,
you
do. You get nervous when they're coming out of those eggs.
Yeah.
But we'll talk about that more tomorrow night, about hatching the chickens and that experience.
So hopefully this has helped at least, and we're going to try to do this every weeknight, like we said, at 7:30 Central. So we invite you to join us. Invite you to join us on the replay. We're hoping to discuss a lot of topics, especially for the people that are just getting started in homesteading. Hopefully it'll help you out, and we'll learn from each other. So thanks for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe, and we hope to see you tomorrow night.